Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It is Robson, and today we're doing a video called how to start a clothing line. And I've got very selfish reasons for wanting to do this video. I get lots of inboxes and DMs and emails and everything, and I just felt like it would be best to try and answer everyone in one platform, in one way, that everyone can kind of get the answers to certain things and understand where I'm coming from as well. I've tried to answer people along the way, and it just becomes so time consuming, and my schedule is something that I pride myself on, and I really don't have the time to sit and answer 500 word answers, you know, to people. And I'm the type of person, if I respond to you, I want to try and give you the best answer, and it's just become a bit too time consuming for me. So I figured let's just put it out there, and anytime anyone asks me a question, I can just direct them to this video and they'll have kind of the answers that they're looking for. I hope the video is helpful. I'm gonna go through my experience. My experience is not necessarily everyone's experience, but it is mine, and that's where I can speak from that point of view. I can also speak from the point of view where I do have a clothing background. That is my profession. Clothing is my profession, you know, and I can speak from that point of view as well. So I hope that all of these things kind of make the video helpful to others, and also you can understand different elements of things. But I will also try and speak to you guys from a point of, well, if this is the way you're doing it, this is how this would apply to you, and if that's how you're doing it, that's how that would apply to you, kind of thing. So I do hope that it's helpful. If you have any questions relating to this video, please leave a comment down below. Don't inbox me or anything. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep it open where other people can see the comments and see my response and find it helpful as well. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Bye. So I studied fashion design, and that is my background basically. I learned how to do patterns, I learned how to sew, I learned about all those things. When I was finished with college, I didn't really know exactly where I fitted in, because I started a job doing something similar to what I'm doing now. I was basically an assistant to a me, and I hated it. And I quit 6 months in. I was like, this is not for me, this is not what I signed up for. Anyways, I took some time off. I was doing silly things. I was starting photo shoots, I was making trick dance dresses, I was doing things like that. And then I eventually did visual merchandising as well, and then I landed this job in 2012. I basically started working within the local clothing industry as an assistant merchandiser slash junior designer. And the role basically was, if I could say, it was a bit confusing at first, because you have this idea of what clothing is, and you study fashion design like a junior designer. Ooh, no, it's not like that. It's very admin based role. You sit and you do Excel spreadsheets and that sort of thing, and grading and all of those things. And that's what I would do the whole day. I would do specs the whole day, and the spec is basically your bible of measurements for a garment. So whether on a size, your smaller size should be this size, your 8 should be that size, your 10 should be that size, and all the measurements that pertain to a garment. That's what I used to do the whole day. It was a bit boring, but I kind of I really enjoyed it. And the more I grew in what I was doing, the more I really started to enjoy it and all of that. But at the back of my mind, I always still wanted to do something on my own. I still wanted my own clothing line, because I always believed in it. Now mind you, while I was working, I had my blog, because I started my blog back in 2010. So I was always blogging and all of that, and I was, constantly working on that and building my following and my readership and all of those things. In 2014, I was talking to my boss, and I said to him, I said, this is what I want, this is what I believe, and I really want to do it, and I have to make it happen at some point, because I'm getting older, and I just know that if I don't do it, I'm never going to do it, and I'm never going to make it happen. He basically trusted me enough to say, let's try and make it happen. And that's how my Robson brand basically was started. One of the things was also, at the time, it was how am I going to do this? How are we going to make this happen? And fair enough, I had the help of the bigger company, basically helping with this whole thing, because we essentially partnered up on my brand and making it happen. At the time, the business was doing a lot on the import side, and that's when I would go to China often, and we would have garments made up in China. I basically said to one of the factories that we work with there, they're a very good factory. We spoke to one of the people at the factory and said, listen, Brett's trying to do this like thing and we're trying to make it happen, can you guys help us? And obviously my units were ridiculous. Like, I got away with trying to do 300 units. They did it, and we did 6 pieces, and it was 6 pieces that couldn't be made locally. So it was like a striped leatherette jacket, a striped leatherette skirt. There was this beautiful knitwear piece that I had made at a knitwear factory, and the whole front was fringed, and it was just so beautiful. As we were getting closer and closer and closer, I decided I wanted to add a local element in. And the thing about local versus import, and you know, I always find people very ignorant when it comes to China. You know, there's a lot of negative connotations that come with China, and it's a lot of the time from people who don't understand China, people who've never been to China, people who've never set foot in a factory in China. I have been to more than one factory in China, and not everything there is cheap. I've been to beautiful knitwear factories where they make like beautiful knitwear. I've been to factories where the quality is really good, and not everything's cheap, not everything's bad, and not every factory is Dodge in China. Yes, there are many Dodge factories here in South Africa, and that's what people don't understand as well. I can tell you horror stories of things that have happened in Newcastle and Lesotho and here in CBD Durban. You know, there's always going to be these horror stories no matter where you are in the world, and I think a lot of people who come from that point of view, they just don't understand it. But I do understand it, and I didn't have an issue at the time making anything in China. So the reason I wanted to add a local element into the range is because I looked at the 6 pieces I had and I was like, okay, this looks a little incomplete. So I basically just started like CADing stuff. We started like getting some sampling of fabrics and all of that out of China and whatever, talking to our suppliers like, oh please, we need like this is what I'm looking for, this is kind of what I'm looking for, trying to like work on new and exciting things and not just like the basic boring things. All of this was like happening while I was also, at the time, I was meeting with Zando, and Zando basically bought into my idea based on CADs and a couple samples. Like, I didn't even have my full range when I sat down with the ladies we buy at Zando, and they bought into it, and you know, I have not turned back, and I'm very grateful for the fact that they took a chance on me as well, because that's essentially what they did. They were like, you know, okay, cool, let's give you a try, we'll stock you. And I was like, what? Zando's gonna stock me? Like, this is so amazing, you know. And I haven't looked back since. We've only grown from where we were to where we are now, and we just keep on just growing and growing, and it's so amazing the sort of feedback that we get on the Zando website from the customer base. After everything, I launched basically a full range of 12 pieces. I'm gonna link you guys, there's a video that I did with the full range, so I'm gonna link it down below if you want to see that. That's like basically my first collection that I ever launched in 2015 on the 18th of May, and you'll see all the different pieces and stuff like that. So other than Zando stocking us, I didn't really know how to go about like finding people, and that's where my business partner came in, and he was like, well, we need a plan, like who are we selling to other than Zando, what are we doing? And the plan was never for Shop by Robson, like that was never ever a part of the initial plan. But eventually, when we realized people didn't want to take a chance on someone like me who they had no idea who I was, what I was doing and that sort of thing, we decided, well, let's start our own platform and let's sell the clothes ourselves. And that's how basically the shop was, you know, worked into the whole thing, and we started developing the websites and all of that. And when we launched, we essentially just launched with Zando stocking us, Sassy Chic stocking us, and our own online platform as well. Anyway, so we launched and things moved kind of slowly at first, but it grew from there, you know. It's such a learning experience to go through something like this, and we're now just over 2 years in, and I can tell you, like, I've learned so much over the past 2 years, essentially like 3 years, because if you think of the development phase. But it's just been such a journey, and I'm so grateful for it because it's taught me a million different things, not only about myself, but about, you know, customers and people with money, and, you know, all these different things. And it's just been absolutely amazing. One of the most amazing things about being partnered up with the company that I work for on my brand and on the online store is that I can still do my job, which I genuinely love, but I also get to, you know, stay in this phase where, while my brand is growing and while everything's getting to the point where, you know, at some point it's going to be able to stand on its own, but I don't feel like it's at that point yet for me. I feel like it's still got a very long way to go, and I'm still working on building it up to that point. So I can always still, you know, there's a lot of benefits to my job as well, you know, the international travel and the sourcing and all of that. And I always just think to myself, like, imagine if, like, the brand had to pay for that themselves. We couldn't afford it, you know. And I'm very fortunate in that way that I can, because of my job, do those things and sit down and negotiate fabric prices with suppliers, and, you know, have access to the markets, and, you know, exposed to all those amazing things. And I'm really grateful for that, basically. And also takes a lot of pressure off me to have the infrastructure, and, you know, I'm not a one-man band. There's a whole support team, from production to patterns and machinists, and, you know, there's so many people that I have access to that help me with everything. I don't do everything myself. If you've ever thought that I do everything myself, you're sorely mistaken, because I really don't. It takes a village, and we all just kind of work together. And I think everyone knows I'm a bit antsy with things, but I get things done. And for me, it's always in mind, the customer's in mind, and my end goal, and what I want to see at the end of the day is what I want, you know. And I keep true to that. If I want that, that's what I want, and at the end of the process, that's what I want to see. And that's where I'm always coming from, whether I'm being like a bit difficult at times or whatever. That's where I'm coming from with it. When it comes to actually manufacturing, if I tell you that this is the bane of my existence, it is. We've only just recently gotten to a point where we're working with one factory that sets up a separate section within the big factory that does work for our retail work, basically like the 10,000 units, 8,000 units, that sort of thing. And they've set up a special line just for me, where they're just producing my brand. So my runs can be anywhere from like 150 to about 300 per color, and that's one style. I stock myself, my online store. I send stock to Zando. Sassy Chic takes some stock as well. I also supply some merchandise to Ega Zimbabwe, and also to a store in Botswana called Topline. They also now stock my brand. I know for some people you're thinking, geez, 150 to 300 pieces per color. Yeah, that's what I do. I have to, you know, meet minimums and all of that. And sometimes you end up sitting with stock, and that's the reality of it. You know, it is what it is. But sometimes you end up selling out. And there's been styles that I've done where we've sold out completely and remade it, and basically sold like double our initial quantity. And you are kind of taking a gamble at the end of the day. But you know, sometimes it really works out really well. You know, obviously if you're doing it at a much smaller scale, you can work with seamstresses who will manufacture and basically machine everything for you. I think it's a very different process when you're working with one person machining one garment at a time. With a line in a factory, each person does like maybe, so if it's like a small line, maybe they're doing 2 or 3 operations each, and it's like flowing until it ends, and it's like done, and someone's cleaning and clipping and pressing and that sort of thing. But if you're doing it at a much smaller scale, as I would imagine many of you are, I think working with a seamstress could be okay for you, which I think it's good to kind of maybe start off smaller, especially if you don't have financial backing. I think that, you know, you don't want to be sitting with stock, and you don't want to be outlaying too much money, you know, when you're just starting out and you're not even sure if people are going to be buying your stuff. You know, maybe start off small, start working with a seamstress who's going to machine your things for you, and maybe even do your patterns, that sort of thing. But, you know, working with these big factories is really hard to even find factories to do 100 units, 150 units. It's quite a challenge. So you know, to the people who are asking like, how do you manufacture, how do you find factories, I don't even know, because I've had to basically beg people to take my work. And if it wasn't for the current agreement that I've gotten into with one factory, I would not be quite comfortable that my, you know, my summer's in check. And you know, my main summer story is actually basically, most of it's out and it's going to be delivered by the end of August. So I'm very happy about that. That makes me super happy. I did an interview that I'm gonna link down below, where I went through like so many processes in the production line, from like idea to end customer kind of thing. I'm gonna link that down below, so be sure to check that out. Until next time guys, bye.